A very warm welcome to all of you on the trending stories, and today we discuss the issue of airport mismanagement in Delhi. Whether it was God-driven or man-made, it's a matter of debate. But what is evident is that it led to chaos, violence, subsequent arrest and unprecedented development. You could see people sitting on the tarmac as if it was railway station, but it was Delhi airport. A pilot was attacked and passenger had to sit on tarmac, as I just mentioned. It was completely full. The Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia also issued a clarification. He tweeted, he said, patience is required, security is important. And Jyotiraditya Scindia said that the most important thing is security. That is why certain precautions were taken. But let me take you through some pictures before. I'll read out what Jyotiraditya Scindia had tweeted. But let me show you those pictures of the assault, how people were crowded together in airport, and most important of all, patience ran out. We'll show you all the pictures and we will keep all these pictures full screen. Now these are the passengers on tarmac, you know. This is no railway station. In fact, you are not supposed to get down from the plane. It's violation of law. A lot of people don't understand that. You're not supposed to stand there. You're not supposed to sit there. You're supposed to get down, wait for the bus, get in. It is a violation of law. Last time if I'm not wrong, I was flying to Raipur. There was a ruckus. I think Pawan Khera was being detained for some Supreme Court, some case which was there in court. He didn't have the relief. And the entire Congress party sat down. When the journalists came to cover it, we were told that this is in violation of law because you have disembarked from the plane. And look at this. This looks like the terminus in Mumbai. This story does not require graphics. This does not require people telling you. You can see it and understand. Imagine yourself just being there in airport for 12 hours. You see, I'll read out a couple of tweets. They have, all of them were tweeted in last 24 hours. This is by Pradyut Manikya, one of the leaders from Tripura. Terrible congestion at the Delhi airport due to fog. I'm stuck here since 8:30 a.m. Would like to have a thank, and then he went on to thank people. He's saying that he's stuck, which means he's stuck for 10 hours. He's stuck for 10 hours. And then another tweet. Another tweet, this is being retweeted by Priyanka Chopra. Hope the helpless passengers are not charged additional service charge for unique location dining experience. I don't want to get into the, Indigo is at fault or the civil aviation authorities are at fault or the local managers are at fault. Boss, this just goes on to show that we have an issue. This is a fog. This is not even like a blizzard. This is not JFK airport. This is India, it's not as if there were, entire place has been completely immobilized. And before I go to my colleague Ajit, let me just read out this tweet. And I would put this, and let us play out these videos. So basically, Jyotiraditya Scindia had given a long explanation. Basically, he was saying, the authorities therefore were compelled to enforce a shutdown of operation for some time even on Cat 3 runway. Cat 3 runways cannot handle zero visibility operations. The decision was taken keeping passengers' safety in mind. He said between 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. yesterday, Delhi witnessed unprecedented fog when visibility fluctuated for several hours and became zero visibility. Basically, he's saying that zero visibility cannot be handled. So Ajit, tell me, in this case, what should have been done? This is like unprecedented. As if like a huge blizzard had hit Delhi.
Right, the fact of the matter here, Kartikeya, is that when chaos happens when multiple things go wrong at the same time. That's one. So while we can debate what the airline or DGCA could have done, but the fact is that fog is not in anybody's control. However, and more importantly, we know that Delhi suffers from fog between December 15th and January 15th. We know it for a fact. So that's why this is something that you can't put it on fog. and say that okay, suddenly fog came and we could not help. You knew that this season has that tendency of fog. That's why they could have done multiple things to kind of mitigate and kind of look at ways to have controlled this. That's my understanding of it, because at the end of the day, beat the airline, for example. The airlines, when they are rostering pilots during this 1 month, they could have thought it in a manner where they could have rostered pilots who have been trained in Cat 3 to Delhi for this 1 month. You can't say at the moment like, okay, we can't fly because we don't have pilots who are Cat 3 compliant, when they have pilots who have Cat 3 compliance, but then they are spread across different cities. If the DGCA, rather than just being a cop always, would have worked with the airlines early on to suggest that, hey guys, from December 15th to January 15th, you must roster Cat 3 pilots in and around Delhi. That's one thing that could have done.
Okay.
Second, and when it comes to the passengers also, and also from the airlines perspective also, now DGC has
I think passengers get irritated when they are stuck inside the plane.
Right. So why it happens is something that we must also understand, because we also fly. Why it happens? Because all airlines eventually are wanting to maintain their on-time performance. They want people to be inside the flight well in advance, so that the moment they get a clearance from the ATC, they can take off. That's the one reason. However, that's not the case how it operates in the West, or for example US, where I think the ATC, the pilot can reach out to the ATC only 15 minutes in advance. While in India, you can, the moment you think that your plane is full, you can reach out to the ATC.
Okay, that's very important. That's very important. I'm joined by Captain Kishore Chinta, CEO and Chief Pilot at MSOS Aviation Private Limited. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And I'm also joined by Captain S.S. Panesar, ex-Director of Flight and Safety, Indian Airlines. Captain Chinta, Ajit made a point. Is it correct that this whole ATC thing, to keep your schedule neat?
I would like to differ. The processes are pretty much the same in India. There is an ATC SOP which says that there is a calculated time of takeoff based on which you file your departure. There are slots given to the airlines, and especially in low visibility procedures, when they are in vogue, there is something called packet number. The ATC gives each airline a packet number. That means they have a slot of an hour in which departures happen. Under Cat 3 peak operations, when we have 3 runways in operation in Delhi airport, the maximum number of departures and arrivals is about 73. So let's round it off to 70. We're talking about 35 arrivals and 35 departures. When low visibility procedures are in place, there is slow taxi, there is extended runway occupancy time, which leads to a cascading effect of lesser number of arrivals and departures. So the airline is responsible to give a target off-block time, TOBT, to the ATC. That, okay, once the visibility is within our minima, we're going to take this much amount of time for us to start up, based on which the ATC will give a target startup time, based on which they're supposed to take clearance. Universally, it's 15 minutes prior to what is their target startup time. Unfortunately, due to unprecedented delays, the cascading effect, there is a give and take on this. But at the end of the day, if the airlines follow the process, it's going to be much smoother. And of course, communication is the key.
Okay. Mr. Panesar, there's one more aspect which is very disturbing: violence. Earlier, there was violence with the crew. And there have been cases, the people who attend. Now, this time the pilot has been attacked. I think this is very disconcerting. Whatever might be the provocation, even if you're being put there like sardine for 12 hours, I mean, to assault a pilot like this?
At the outset, let me tell you something. The weather is not in the hands of the pilot or any person. Whether due fog, due thunderstorm, due dust storm, they can come and go away. Now, when the weather is bad, thick fog and all that, the pilot cannot take a chance with the safety of passenger and crew. He has limitations laid down by the regulatory body. In that minima, he can take off. The pilots are trained for category 3 ILS also, and the airline should send pilots who are trained for category 3.
But Mr. Panesar, sorry, I'm stopping you. Have you ever seen photographs like this? This is not Mogadishu, I have not seen, people sitting on tarmac, sir, and having their food in Delhi.
So let me tell you one thing. In our time, when the flight was delayed, we announced the flight. The best thing is to let the passengers come in the aircraft. They can sit, they can serve them snacks, they can use the toilets also. But when there's a stampede and overcrowding in the departure lounge, it is very difficult to keep the passengers informed. But once in the aircraft, they will be informed by the pilots of situation and improvement of whether or it's going to bad or it's going to be cancelled. My suggestion to the airline is they should keep a senior pilot examiner as operation control at the airport who has a full coordination with the meteorological, air traffic control and ground support. And they should inform the passengers and they'll be satisfied and there'll be no one pilot going into the cockpit and hitting the pilot. That is wrong. It's a criminal action.
Oh, absolutely, sir. There is no debate on the fact that it's criminal. There is no debate on that. There is no debate on that. Our point of debate is what could have been done to avoid this commotion? What could have been done so that, passengers wouldn't have been inconvenienced? Security of the pilot is an issue. He got assaulted. But Captain Chinta, isn't it incumbent on airlines also to manage their passengers? Boss, if you anticipate, if you know that it's going to be one of the foggiest day, why? I think the SMSs can go.
Yes.
The messages can go. Please, come after 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that, rather than everyone being inside the airport.
Okay, absolutely. So the airlines resort to multiple ways of disseminating information. One of the easiest seems to be computer-generated emails, probably SMSs, but nobody has an active call center. If you try getting across to any of the airline call centers to get information, you cannot expect an average passenger to check their emails before coming to the airport.
Absolutely.
Probably an effort in that aspect would help passengers plan coming to the airport. Having said that, the pilots, ideally boarding of the aeroplane is the pilot in command's responsibility. But with low-cost carriers, what happens is that they don't want to use aero bridges. It costs them money. They would like to use stepladder boarding procedures with their own buses. So their process is controlled by the operational control center, and they end up, pushing passengers 45 minutes prior, push them into the aeroplane, and then that's where the cookie starts crumbling. They have passengers on board.
But Captain Chinta, why do you need to push them inside the aircraft? I mean to say that's where the problem is now.
Okay, the problem is that once they want to deboard, they have to go through the entire security process all over again. Boarding cards have to be reissued. It's a huge logistical issue. So the OCC just wants to get over with the process of boarding and then take the delays thereafter. So what can be done to avoid this? A, do not start boarding until you know for sure that you're within 45 minutes of your target startup time. That's where I said earlier also, you know that what is your visibility requirement, you know your crew rostering which you need to do. Having said that, okay, you cannot have all Cat 3 pilots on one base. Having said that, what the airlines can do is reduce their number of departures for that period. Reduce it by 10%, reduce it by 20% along with the airport operator for that period. So that way you have more pilots available in case of FDTL limitations. Reduce the retail space in the terminal so that you can accommodate more passengers and for seating for them. And airlines can update the status
Captain Chinta, the basic thing is, you should not let them be there. I think that's the bottom line. Don't let them be there. In Chicago, I was coming from Des Moines and, I just wanted to see the city. This can't happen in India. I went inside the O'Hara airport. I went inside. I checked in my luggage. I got my boarding pass. I went out of the airport. I took my taxi. I was in the city for 5 hours. I had a good time. I had my lunch and came back, and I took the flight and went off to sleep. Ajit, these are things you can't expect in Indian airports. यहाँ तो घुसने से पहले ही line लगती है. You go to any airport in the world, you go inside the airport and then everything happens. यहाँ तो पहली line बाहर है.
तो population में इंडिया में उतनी है. That's one factor. And second thing, you have to understand one thing. ये सारी जो story है, who is the biggest loser? We say, and we feel passengers
India
are.
is the biggest loser because we lose face.
No,
we talk about T3, we talk about so many things.
That's true.
It's about people's management.
That's true.
It's brand India.
That's true. But the biggest loser in this saga are the airlines, because every minute they stay on ground, they lose money. They don't want to delay the flight. We have to understand that as well. They don't want to have the plane sitting idle. They don't want to have it, that to happen. But when fog occurs and when that is not in their control, and as our pilot said, that safety is of paramount importance. Like we talk about Cat 3, Cat A, Cat 3A, Cat 3B, Cat 3C. Cat 3C is not operated because Cat 3 is zero visibility. But what happens once the plane is landed, right? You can't taxi on an blind. That's what the thought process is. So safety is one. Second, the airlines themselves, while we may want to castigate from whatever is happening, the fact is they don't want to be here. Secondly, the best thing that they can possibly do is, as we discussed, is that how do they communicate it better to people? If I know in advance, and one example that I want to give you, and I don't know of other airlines, but Air India has a program called as Fog Care. So in the 1 or 2 months, I think till March 31st, it's applicable, that if you are on a flight that you feel may get cancelled due to fog, then you can change your flight to the next 3 days whenever you want without any charges. If this service is there, how many of us know that Air India has a service like this, Fog Care? So if I am booked on a flight at 5 a.m. and I can sense that tomorrow is going to be a foggy morning, then I would want to possibly delay my flight.
And I want to understand one thing, Captain Panese, this gentleman who attacked the pilot, he has been arrested today from Amar Colony. Yeah. Why was he let out? Why was he let off? How did he walk out of the airport?
Yeah, that's a question that one has
to... Mr. Panise, am I audible to you?
Yeah.
So, मैं तो ये सोच रहा हूँ, like a common citizen, we just got the news that, this gentleman has been arrested. यानी इंडिगो मामले में निजी पुलिस ने थप्पड़ मारने वाले शख्स को किया गिरफ्तार, दिल्ली के अमर कॉलोनी का रहने वाला है. I mean to say, अभी क्यों किया? पहले ही कर लेते.
You see, the question is, this is a criminal action, he should be taken into the law and all that. Now the question, people get impatient when they don't get the proper information. The airline has a coordination system, they should coordinate. So many flights delayed, everybody cannot keep on talking to ATC, request me the weather and all every minute. The coordinator, operation control, the pilot who can coordinate with the meteorological office, he can find out the forecast, what is going to be the improvement in the weather and all, and he can inform his pilot. No pilot will take off in a poor visibility, in risking the safety of passengers and crew. And the weather is not in the hands of anybody. Now, sometimes we announce the flight delayed due fog. Let's say.
But Captain Pani sir, yes, I agree with you, sir. Weather is not in hands of anybody. But the management is, sir. Is there a problem of airlines and airport authorities managing the issue? Is it a management problem, sir?
No, there's no. They have to post one person, a senior instructor examiner of the aircraft at the airport as the operation controller. We have been doing it in Indian Airlines. One senior examiner was posted in the movement control. He used to keep coordination with the meteorological office, ATC, ground support, and he used to keep on guiding the pilot in the cockpit also. Because every pilot start talking to ATC, it will be difficult to talk on the RT also. Now the question is, the airline has to improve on the system, and the ATC, the ground support, they should have enough space in the departure lounge. Once you get a boarding card, you come through security. It's a very difficult procedure in India to come out of the security with a boarding pass.
Correct. I
See,
agree
that's a lot of there's a big cumbersome procedure. In Air India, if you checked in and you go through the security to come out, they need witnesses from the airline. It takes almost 1.5 or 2 hours to come out of the airport. So
no.
All these things, they lead to more better coordination by the airline, meteorological officer, ATC, ground support, will definitely improve the situation. We have the material to set these things right, and I'm sure the airline must be concerned to improve the inconvenience which is causing inconvenience to the passenger. They won't be just sitting like, they must be finding it. They will post some senior people at the airport to have the coordinate. The passengers, what is the plight of passenger? He should know minute to minute information, what's my plight, what's my delay to the flight. And he should be provided with the snacks or something if the flight is delayed, or they should cancel the flight.
Okay.
Sometimes
Captain,
due fog will delay the flight.
they
by
should
4
cancel
hours.
the flight, but it affects the profit. Captain
Whatever the
Chinta, let
fog
me.
goes away in half an hour. You also complain when there's no fog, why you delayed the flight? I
See,
have delayed
bottom
flight on
line,
the
sir,
methodology
bottom
of
line is
forecast.
profits. I think the bottom line is profits. Forward looking. Ajit, what do you think should be done? What's the forward looking thing?
The thing here is that now DGC has issued new guidelines, SOPs, how airlines should contact people. But the tragedy of the whole thing, tragedy in the sense that this happens only for 15-20 days a year. So now by the time we are in February, this all will be forgotten. So these SOPs will lie there like all rules in India, and then they will dust it out next foggy season. So when we know that this is going to happen, there has to be a certain pre-planning. I think, if you were to pre-plan, all stakeholders, airlines, airports, DGCA, they have to pre-plan, okay, how is that we're going to deal with the fog season this year? That is not being done to the manner or to the extent that it should be done. If that is sorted, then I think most of these issues will go out. And the passengers, for that matter, they should also understand that there are certain considerations that they also have to understand, in the sense of fog is not in anybody's hand and their safety is of paramount importance. The airline does not want to delay your flight.
Captain Chinta, it's like this, you have different SOPs abroad when it comes to like blizzards, polar vortex. Do we need a different SOP for winters?
There's absolutely, all these SOPs are already in place. Both the stakeholder, which is the Airport Authority of India, there is an ATC
Hindustan mein
SOP
rules
to deal
sare
with
hote,
fog.
implement nahi hote. That's what you are saying. All the SOPs are in place.
They're all being implemented. The problem is that, like Captain Panesar said, and as you yourself said, that there is a process even with the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security. If you're issued a boarding card and there is an unprecedented delay, you can go out of the airport. Just that you have to be accompanied by one of the airline staff to the CSF gate, and there's a register to be entered. I have done it in the past as a passenger. It is there, but following it is the key. Having said that, even these unprecedented visuals of people sitting on the tarmac, it's basically mob mentality. It's not the airline's fault. There were buses on standby over there, but one fine gentleman decided to take the lead and said, I'm going to sit here, and got the rest of the bunch of them to sit on the tarmac. It's a security hazard to get them to sit on the tarmac. And also for the passenger who actually attacked the pilot, that itself is a security hazard. Once the doors are closed and the slides are armed, there is no business of leaving the cockpit door open. What if the passenger, just instead of assaulting, went into the cockpit and closed the door? It's a hijack situation.
Correct,
There is no
absolutely.
process.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yes.
All these fancy announcements should be from inside the cockpit. No business of standing outside the cockpit.
Captain Panesar, I'm really short of time, but I think that's a very important observation by Captain Chinta. Why these fancy announcements from outside the cockpit? Imagine if you would have rushed inside the cockpit, closed it, and tried something with the plane, with fuel, fully loaded plane with fuel.
See, the cockpit door is locked. Mechanically, it cannot be opened unless you use the code and all that. But sometimes we keep it open before takeoff, because the engineering people, commercial people have to keep on coming and informing the pilots about details of the fuel and load and everything. And during that process, if somebody forces himself into the cockpit, what can you do? Air hostess can't hold him. Now, one more solution is there in such cases of delays and all that. The departure lounges are not fully competent to accommodate 5 or 10 passenger departure. If the flight is delayed for more than 4 hours, they should have enough hotels near the airport. Like in foreign countries, there are enough hotels. They immediately send the passengers to the hotel for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So at least they are comfortable in the hotel, and they can bring them back to the flight as soon as the weather improves. But we have only one hotel, that's Centaur. I don't think there's another hotel near the airport.
No, you have an entire AeroCity, you see, but ultimately, sir, it boils down to profit, Even, because unlike 10 years ago when you had multiple airlines, consolidation is taking place. I don't want to take the names. One airline is overloaded because it has got most of the work. And the fact of the matter is that you make more money if you keep your plane flying, as Ajit said. But then the passengers suffer. And when passengers suffer, there is mismanagement. And then you have these issues of violence in which I would say that it's not, whatever may be the provocation, violence is violence and the man needs to be punished. For the first time I've seen a pilot getting assaulted like that. But I think it's very bad for brand India. It's ultimately airports, these public places, you can't manage them. It's like you can't manage time, you can't manage big enterprises. I think it's a tale of caution for everyone who wants to make brand India better, because if we can't manage our airports at the time when we need to, then I don't think we will have that leeway of saying that we are the best. So I think charity begins at home. Thank you for all of you for watching our show on the airport mess, on the segment The Trending.
Please, let's not go out. You are lying. नहीं चलाना मत चला खोल के
अरे what is this?
हम कितनी देर से बैठे हैं?
आप ये नहीं कर सकते।
आप ऐसे क्या नहीं कर सकते? हम पागल हैं यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं।
जो राम मंदिर है वो किसका है?
ये राष्ट्र का मंदिर है।
हिंदू धर्म को लेकर चेतना है वो केवल ब्रिटिश